This young girl fell in love with a man who was many years older than her. Anne was an exemplary student at her high school, and in the eyes of her teachers, an innocent and transparent girl. One night she met Charlie through an internet chat room. She told her father he was a smart, charismatic, athletic boy who came from an educated family. But what her dad didn't know was that the entire relationship between his daughter and Charlie existed solely through a cold computer screen. And those messages gradually became the moment Anne looked forward to the most every day. Shortly after Charlie asked her for a photo of herself, Anne spent a good while in front of the monitor looking for the best angle until, finally, she sent it. However, when she asked him for the same, Charlie went silent for a few seconds. Then he confessed that, in reality, he wasn't her age, but was a sophomore in college. But Anne didn't care too much about the age difference. A few moments later, Charlie sent his picture. Anne stared fixedly at the image on the screen, and little by little a big smile appeared on her face. From that moment on, they began to call each other on the phone frequently. But just a few days later, Charlie changed his story again. He mentioned that he didn't go to college but was doing a postgraduate degree. Anne suddenly couldn't accept it and began to demand answers over the phone. But Charlie kept giving her justifications with a voice filled with regret and promises. Before long, Anne believed in him again. From that moment, she began to become more dependent on Charlie, and the tone of their conversations gradually crossed the boundaries of a common friendship. The following day, Anne's brother was leaving to study far away in another town. The whole family was outside to say goodbye, but Anne wouldn't take her eyes off her cell phone screen. Only when her parents demanded it did she go over to say goodbye to her brother. As she watched him drive away in the car, Anne began to excitedly envision her future college years. And just the night before, Charlie had proposed they meet in person. The next day, Anne went alone to the mall, straight to the meeting point. At that instant, a familiar tone of voice suddenly echoed behind her back. Anne turned around and was left stunned. The guy in front of her was full of wrinkles and bore no resemblance to the Charlie in the photos. Anne tried to leave immediately, but the subject insisted over and over, telling her to put the age issue aside. He swore to her that he was still the same individual who loved her so much. When he noticed that Anne was calming down, the old man suggested they walk for a bit as acquaintances. And that very scene was witnessed by her close friend, who worked a temporary job at that same mall. Beholding the body language of closeness between the two, she was left with a look of absolute astonishment. Afterwards, the two went into an ice cream parlor. By that time, Anne was already starting to internally accept this elderly gentleman. A while later, Charlie offered to take her home. As soon as she got into the car, he handed Anne a package. Upon opening it, Anne was left speechless. Inside were clothes that were notoriously inappropriate for her age, but Charlie told her it was a gift chosen exclusively for her. Anne hesitated for a second, but finally accepted it. Immediately, Charlie drove her to a hotel. When Anne came out already dressed in those clothes, she clearly perceived how the man's eyes wouldn't leave her. By instinct, she went back into the restroom to escape that gaze. But on the other side of the door, Charlie continued talking to her in a very cheerful tone. And what Anne didn't imagine was that, in a hidden corner of the room, a cold lens was recording her directly. But at that moment, she still didn't suspect that she had been falling, step by step, into the trap he had prepared for her.